Hello everyone, and welcome to another video. I am S.A.N, and today we will be playing Magic the Gathering Arena. More specifically, I will be drafting the new set, Lorwyn Eclipsed. You can see my deck briefly here for a moment. I primarily play blue-green, which is sometimes called Simic, after the blue-green guild from Ravnica, and I tend to favor cards that play to those themes. Drawing lots of cards, mana acceleration, plus most encounters, and tempo, and creatures with interesting abilities. Hopefully we'll get to see a fair bit of that today. So, without further ado, we'll get to the draft here in a moment. One thing of note that is different about this video is I am recording this audio in post. This is the first time I've actually done this, so there might be some technical issues, but this is just an experiment to see if I can manage this and avoid any of the other issues with audio I've been having sometimes in my previous videos. Some people have commented about that, so I thought it would be a good time to try this out and see how it works. Alright, so now we're getting into the actual draft proper. So a draft, for those who are not aware, is basically eight people sit at a table. It's a virtual table in this case if we're playing on Arena. And we each deal out three packs to those 8 people, so there's 24 packs in total. We then take a card from each pack, pass it right, and then pick another pack, pass it again, and so on until that pack is gone. And then we go the other way with the next pack. You can see here I'm going to start taking my first card here. And that's how we build our decks from those pack of cards. So everyone gets, basically it's a mix of cards, and you'll see in a moment how this all works. Drafting is a lot of fun because it allows you to experiment with different strategies, especially when you're playing with a set for the first time. Look right here. One of the first cards I pick here is Rhyme Chill, a card I've been wanting to try out, but probably won't make it into a constructed deck because of its exorbitant cost. I'll go into a bit more detail on what this card does when we actually get to it, because I was really excited to give it a try, and we'll see here let's keep talking as we go through the actual pack passing process. As you see, everyone has a specific amount of time. There's usually a timer on screen whenever you have a pack handed to you, and you each pick a card. And at single card time, you eventually build a pool of cards that you have to build your deck from. In draft, it is a 40 card deck, as you can see there, as opposed to the 60 card deck it normally is in constructed. Alright, so here we get my next pick, and I'm going to take, what am I going to take this time? Lots of choices here. As I said, I want to play blue-green, so I should probably start taking some green cards. Also, I tend to miss out on creatures when drafting, so yeah, I'm going to take a creature this time. It's a Death Touch creature, which means that creature will destroy any creature it deals damage to. It's quite useful. Right, so this is how drafting starts. I know this may not be the most interesting because we haven't got the actual gameplay yet, but this is an important part of the process. I want to show at least some of this, because it is how drafting goes, and it is basically part of the appeal of this format to me, and why I draft so often. It forces everyone to play with different cards, which means they can't just set up game-winning combos, and the other thing is you have to actually think about the cards you want to take each time, because they're going to be building your key strategy this way. This as opposed to a lot of other things in, let's say, Constructed, where everyone just Googles whatever the winning deck is from the latest tournament and tries to build that. There's a lot of that online since Magic the Gathering went online, like that sort of things, and those sorts of tournaments, and it does, on occasion, cause problems. This creature I took here has Changeling, which is an ability unique to the Lorwyn set for shapeshifters, which means that creature has all creature types. One of the main themes of Lorwyn is it's a typal set, which means creature types matter a great deal. So we'll be seeing a lot of that. So that creature can count as any creature type, which will come in handy as we play through the game. Like I said, I'm probably not going to show the entire deck building and drafting process because it's going to take up a good chunk of the video. But I do need some dialogue to just talk over at the moment. Here we have another Changeling creature. This one is what's called as a clone, basically, which is based on the original card. Basically, it enters play as the copy of any creature on the battlefield except it has Changeling. It also has Convoke, which means I can tap my creatures for mana, which is what you see, which is those symbols you see there at the top, which is the spell's casting cost. Mana is usually drawn from lands in this game, as you'll see, but spells with Convoke let you tap creatures for mana. There's also Improvise, which works similarly for artifacts. Lots of different creature types and card types. I'll try and explain this as best I can, but this isn't meant to be a tutorial video how to play Magic the Gathering, so I'm only going to go into so much detail for that. I'm also going to grab another spell here, because I have 3 creatures so far, which means I'm off to a relatively good start. I pop here into the deck detail screen. This is to check my mana curve and my balance of creatures and spells. It's easy to keep track of at the moment, but it gets more complicated as the game goes on. The mana curve is basically a common aspect of deck building in Magic the Gathering. As I said, everything has a mana cost. As you can see there, there's the cheapest one there is the Virulent Emissary, which costs 1 green mana, and Rime Chill, which costs 7 mana, one of which must be blue. The mana curve basically is a big part of the game theory of Magic the Gathering. Because we tap the lands, draw mana from it, our mana supply is very important for casting spells and playing the entire game. So it's important to keep that in mind. You want to try and keep your mana curve relatively low for the most part, for the majority of your deck. I usually try and keep any spell as above 5 mana to a minimum, because unless they're very, very good, it has to justify it a lot. It has to do quite a bit. That's why I think Rime Chill may not make it into the deck in the long run. But it is quite interesting. You can see here there's colors. There's 5 colors in Magic the Gathering: white, blue, black, red, and green. And most spells will take only 1 color, but some have multiples, or in this case hybrid, as that last card there did. This is another theme unique to Lorwyn, but it shows up other cards. Basically, you can pay hybrid mana with either color. It makes it a bit easier, and it's a bit easier to play with than just a actual dual color card, which would require blue and green mana to play. So it's nice. And these are lots of other things to keep in mind when deck building. I thought I'd explain this because we're still at the deck constructing process, and we haven't made the actual gameplay yet. Alright, I think I've explained drafting enough for the moment because I don't want to take up too much of the video with it, so we'll probably skip ahead in the moment here. Past, because we haven't even made it through the first pack yet, but as you can see, the last few picks are going to be going by quite quickly because there's not much left at this point. So I'm just going to take whatever I think best suits my deck, and then we'll move on. I think it's another good idea that we also skip ahead at this point because there's not much left of this. Unfortunately, I think I don't have the footage of me actually doing the deck building because I think I didn't record that. But, so we'll just skip ahead to the actual gameplay at this point, I think. Alright, so from here on out, we are into the actual gameplay now. We've finished deck construction and now we're ready to play. Like I said, I didn't actually show my complete deck, but that's fine. So here's my opening hand. We get 7 cards. This isn't the best hand, except it's got a low curve, which means if I draw 1 more land, I'm fine. So that's why I keep it here. Mostly to try things out. So, in case you're wondering why there's a picture of Aang there, who's clearly from Avatar: The Last Airbender, there was a set of that. There's a Universe Beyond set, something Magic the Gathering is doing at the moment, kind of like bringing lots of other stuff into Magic the Gathering's multiverse, or at least in the actual cards. That's why there's a whole bunch of Avatar-themed stuff, but even though they're not in this set. Alright, so as you see, we play lands, and then we tap those lands to cast spells and summon creatures. This mechanic is called Behold. It lets me choose a Merfolk in this case or pay extra mana. Basically, it gets a creature out for slightly less for an extra effect. In this case, making it a Merfolk token. So I get 2 creatures for the cost of 1, which is quite nice. As you can see, the early game is a bit slow in this game compared to other games like, say, Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is much more faster paced, but I think that works well because it means the early game is a bit calmer and it lets us build up our strategies and each of our sides of the battlefield and hopefully get things going. Slower pace often does work. There are obviously faster decks out there. Mono red in particular is quite fast, as can be white, because both of them are faster colors, especially compared to like, blue and green is fairly quick, but blue has a relatively low curve, especially when it comes to creatures. Sorry, very high curve when it comes to creatures. But I'm going to be doing my best here, and I'm going to summon out some more creatures here because creatures are very important in draft formats, much more than they are in constructed necessarily. You can come up with other strategies in constructed, but because creatures are your main source of damage in this game, I kind of have to summon quite a few of them. This creature here, the Gravegill Scoundrel, is another merfolk. If I tap another creature when it attacks, it can't be blocked. And that's how combat works in the game. You attack your opponent and they decide they want to block. But that creature has an ability that lets prevent it from being blocked. That black card I just played there, the Dawnhard Eulogist, has a similar ability called Menace, which means whenever it attacks, it can't be blocked unless your opponent blocks with 2 creatures. So your opponent it raises the odds of you taking out an opponent's creature, basically. This mechanic is called Surveil. I quite like it. I prefer Scrying. Basically lets you look at the top card of your library and decide if you want to keep it or not. I do in this case, which is why I'm not doing it, why I leave it there, as opposed to Surveil, which puts it into the graveyard, or Scrying, which puts it on the bottom. There you go. I tapped a creature there, and I allowed it to attack without blocking. It also has Vigilance, which means it doesn't tap to attack. As you can see, that one creature there did become tapped when I used its ability. Yes, and here we see all the removal strategies. Removal is also very important in Draft, which is kind of a downside because blue doesn't have as much of it. Green has some, but not a lot. But colors like white and black have a lot of removal, especially in Constructed, where it's heavily favored. It's basically, those are the favorite color combinations for removal. Blue doesn't have any permanent removal outside of its counter spells, which I think you'll see at some point. I don't remember if I have too many of those. So that does put me at a slight disadvantage because I can't just destroy my opponent's creatures, but I have other things like tapping things down, putting stun counters on them, and returning them to the owner's hand, that sort of thing. Basically, that's why it's called tempo as opposed to removal, because I'm netting tempo. I'm interfering with the timing of the game, basically, and I'm gaining a timing advantage, and gaining advantages through subtler methods. Green does have some removal, most of it involved using its creatures, but I prefer blue's answers to just hard removal, even if it does put me at a slight disadvantage in some cases here. So as you saw here, I took damage even though I blocked. Some creatures have an ability called Trample, which lets them trample over creatures that are blocking them and deal excess damage left over the player. It's a very common ability in green and less so in some other colors, but green gets it the most. It's basically what's known as an evasion ability, similar to things like the unblockability of the Gravegill Scoundrel or Flying, which is another ability that blue has, actually every color but green, and it's quite useful. And here, I copied that empty discard my opponent played, but I didn't pay the mana cost, so I don't get any of its abilities. Oh, and another removal spell. See, I told you there'd be lots of them. The Scoundrel really is my main offense at the moment. It's the only thing that gets through. This is one of the things that blue does very well with its evasion abilities, is it bypasses your opponent, either by flying over them, or in this case, just being unblockable. I guess because it's a merfolk, it's swimming underneath them, and like, as you can see in the picture there. Really like some of the artwork some of these cards have done. Trample works the same way, except you don't get as much of a say in it because your opponent can still choose to block. There you go. I think that creature there has to be blocked. That's what that ability is. That's why I had to block into it, but that's fine. At least it destroyed that creature. There you go. Run Away Together is one of my tempo spells. You'll see it in a moment as I put it to use, I suspect. You might have noticed that some of these cards look slightly different than the other ones. Some of them have a rounded top there. They're what are known as tokens. Basically, they're token creatures. They're not actual cards, but they're created by other card effects and spells and creatures. So that's why they look slightly different. If they leave the battlefield, they're just gone. They're not removed from the game. And there's something we actually use Runaway Together, which is one of my spells. It returns a creature I control and a creature my opponent controls from his hand. So that's quite useful because it sets them back. Unfortunately, the creature I set back that they had a coming into play effect. It's the Emptiness card again. And my creature was the Silver Gold Mentor, who also has a coming into play effect. That's one of the nice things about Bounce, which are returning cards to owner's hand is very good at, because it lets you reuse their abilities. Unfortunately, I kind of gave them back one of theirs, and it cost me a creature. Oh, well, you can't win them all, as I said. But, yeah, the reason I bounced that creature is because the creature I was attacking with had trample, so all its damage went through, which is nice. And now I get to reuse the Merfolk again with the Behold mechanic. Just picking any Merfolk I have in play works, or in my hand. So, there we go. Now I have another creature, which is nice. So we've reached the mid-game at about this point. As you can see, both of us, I'm at below half-life and my opponent's close to half-life, and we've gone through quite a few of our resources at this point. We have our mana bases set up, we have our respective armies of creatures, and yeah, basically we're starting to really get down to, most of our hands are gone at this point. I would have liked to have drawn some of my card draw spells, but that hasn't come up yet apparently. It will probably come at some point. I still have one trick up my sleeve, which is the Rhyme Chill, which is a spell that I mentioned at the very beginning. Hopefully you get to see it. It has a mechanic called Vivid, which is, if you look here, you can kind of see this this flower with different colored petals. Basically, for each color of the 5 colors I have on the field at the time, that spell costs 1 less to cast. In this case, Rhyme Chill is basically goes from being a 7 casting cost spell to only being a 3 casting cost spell, which is quite nice, which turns it from being a mediocre spell to be very powerful. Hopefully we'll get a chance to see that at some point, and I'm waiting for my opponent to make up their mind on what they're doing. This is the downside to playing Arena, because I'm playing up against an actual opponent, not an AI. I have to wait for whatever my opponent's going to be doing, and they can sometimes take a little while there. As you see, there's a timer there ticking out. Finally. They're picking which one of their creatures to get back from their graveyard with Unbury. Okay, that's what they were doing. I shouldn't complain too much, but it does get... Unfortunately, this does one of the downsides to Arena, and this is because depending on who your opponent is and depending on what cards you get, you can either have a really good game or a really bad game. Fortunately, this game's been going really well so far for both of us. I think it's letting me explain an awful lot, and it's letting me get a lot of detail here. Even if I am, at a slight disadvantage now, especially in board advantage because of that last spell they just cast. He's got 4 token creatures out of that. Yeah, I don't think that artifact I play is going to be too much help, even with Rhyme Chill at this point. I'm going to hope for something very good from the top of my deck soon. Otherwise, this is definitely going to be a loss if this goes on this way much longer. Great, they're gonna start reanimating stuff from their graveyard. Yeah, they definitely have their side of the board definitely has the advantage at this point. I can't keep up with this level much longer, even with Rhyme Chill. Yeah, 3 cards. They've gotten 3 cards back so far. That's another thing that the white and black does all the time: reanimate stuff from their graveyard. Black loves using the graveyard as a secondary hand. There we go. I tapped down 2 creatures, put a sun counter in each. Sun counters mean those creatures don't untap whenever they would become untapped. Instead, the counter gets removed. They're basically frozen for a little bit. It helps me maintain control of this game a little bit. I also drew Unexpected Assistance, which is one of the draw spells I mentioned. I don't know if I'm going to be able to cast it. It has Convoke, so maybe, but this really does depend on what my opponent does next, because this is not looking good. I have 6 creatures, and they have 2 or even possibly 3 times that at this point. It's not going well, looking well for me. I don't have any mass bounce or any mass removal spells because I'm playing blue-green. But a mass bounce spell would go really nice. I wish I had Etherize or River's Rebuke. Yeah, there's going to be a big alpha strike here in a moment. I don't think I'm going to last much longer. Yeah, that hurt. I don't think anything I draw at this point is going to be of any real assistance. There we go. Oh, those spells are nice. Oh, I have a second Rangel. But I don't think they're going to come in... Yeah. This is getting to the point where it's not going to matter. I can't keep up with this level of damage and creatures here. I've lost... two. They've lost a few themselves, but what does it matter when they have still a dozen creatures in play? Yeah, that's it. There we go. That's game one, I'm afraid, and it's a loss for me. Drafts are basically I can play until I lose 3 times, so that'll be the end of game one. We'll move on to game 2 here in a moment. Alright, game 2. It's a fresh start here. It's a fresh start now. It's a fresh hand. Let's see what we can do this time. Alright, slightly better. I have 3 lands this time as opposed to the 2 I had last time. Unfortunately, my curve is higher, so it might not make much difference. Let's see what my opponent's playing. Blue as well. Alright, last time we were up against black, green, and white. 3 colors. It's very rare. Especially in draft format, it doesn't work very well. But I still have the Silver Gold Mentor again, so let's put that into play and let's get our Merfolk token going. I like that opening start. Again, probably not a card that'll make it into my actual deck because I don't need that many Merfolk tokens. Oh, blue-red. Oh, this is going to be... this could be bad. Blue-red is a very powerful color combination at times. They shore up each other's weaknesses very well. Fortunately, they're not as powerful as they have been recently, but in a draft, we'll have to wait and see. Well, here's a surprise. Drafts always have surprises. Risen Reef is not actually a card that's in Lorwyn Eclipsed. It's in one of the... there's a whole bunch of... basically, there's a bunch of bonus cards that are thrown into sets these days, and Risen Reef is one of them. And they have it, because it's a card that's not normally in... it's not in this set, basically. But they're allowed to play with it because they opened it in one of their draft packs. I wish I got that, because it's in my colors. And it's a very, 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 very powerful spell. I really could have used that. What do I want to get rid of? Oh, am I getting rid of the Aquatex defense? Oh, that would have been coming handy against blue-red. Blue-red-green, though. Another 3-color deck. That's very, very odd. Not many people use 3 colors in draft. There you go. I attacked into there just so I could loot a little bit, which is to draw a card and then discard a card. It's named after the original card that did that, Merfolk Looter. So... it's a very common mechanic, especially in blue, and it's very handy. It's not quite as good as card draw, but it's a good second, and having access to both is nice. In a draft, it's very handy. It lets you sort through your deck and keep your plans and strategies up to date based on what your opponent's doing. Alright, I'm going to give you a bit more information about the Risen Reef because I should probably explain why it's such a powerful card. My opponent seems to be playing Elemental Typal at this point, which means elementals are important for their strategy. Risen Reef lets them draw a card every time they play an elemental comes into play, including itself. But if that card they draw happens to be a land, they can put that directly into play instead. So it gives them not only card advantage, but it gives it mana acceleration. Basically, 2 of the things that blue-green requires to be a success. I wish I had it so much. If I had opened that, I would have taken it first pick. Risen Reef is one of the most broken cards that's ever been made in a core set. I can't believe they actually put it back. Even though it's a bonus card, so it's not in standard at the moment, but it is it's still very, very powerful, yeah. everything they've played so far is an elemental. I can't believe they've got this much synergy going so far, but that's the luck of the draw with draft. I have a fair bit of Merfolk, I have a fair bit of elementals, I have a fair bit of changelings, so yeah, if I had gotten Risen Reef, I'd be doing much better. Fortunately, I do have the Omni Changeling, which is the clone card I mentioned. As you can see, it comes into play as a copy of any creature. In this case, their Zealot there. They just played the big 6/5. I could have copied the Risen Reef if I really wanted to, but I think I'm at a big enough disadvantage now that I actually need a big creature to deal with here. And I already have a second one, so I might be able to get it later. Oh, what does that do? Oh, good grief. Explosive Prodigy. Okay, that's 3 damage to anything they want, because it's based on Vivid. So they have 3 colors, they can do 3 damage. And there you go, they get another card. This is, I can already tell this is probably not going to go very well. We're still early in this game, but this is a huge advantage. And if they keep drawing elementals and keep playing off of that, and the Risen Reef, I have to do something to get rid of that at some point. This is not going to go well if I don't do something soon. They must have opened this Risen Reef really early on, because almost every card they have. They played 1 creature so far that is not an elemental. Oh, there's another one. Oh, good. Oh, this one copies the Risen Reef. Oh, this is bad. This is bad. So the Twin Flame Travelers there, basically, they get to, whenever an elemental ability of an elemental triggers on their side of the field, apparently gets to trigger a 2nd time. This is not good. This is really bad. At this rate, they're going to be able to outpace me. Oh, and a Stratosaur. Yep, that's good. When this creature enters, target creature gets flying until end turn. Oh, their big 6/5 now flies. Oh, and they're going to give it something else. Yeah, they don't have another big creature, but it doesn't really matter at this point. Yeah, there we go. 2 more cards, one of which was a land that goes straight into play. I can't keep up with this level of card advantage. That's how powerful Risen Reef is. It's a build around card. You have to build around it, your deck around it, to have lots of elementals, which they do. They have, like I said, they've played 1 card, that Great Forest Druid, that's a tree folk and not an elemental so far, but I don't think I can keep up with this. They've got a 6/5 that's going to hit me in the air, and they're probably going to attack with the other one too. I don't know what they're waiting for. But I mean, come on, what can you do against this? I have advantage at the moment because I'm in life, but I can't keep up with this level of acceleration for much longer. And just like that, I'm at half life. Yeah. Giving one of their big creatures haste and travel in addition to flying. Well, the travel was unimportant. I couldn't block it. Nothing I have flies. I haven't done any of my flyers yet. I don't even know if I have many. Yeah, I mean, look, there's very little I can do here. I could copy one of their creatures. That's probably the best move. I'm apparently not going to do that. I'm going to... Oh, that has reach. That's why I'm going with that. It gives me a token with reach. That'll block some of their flyers. Alright, and the Blossom Bind, which will tap something down. Yeah. Another one of the big flyers. That'll buy me some time, but honestly, I don't see how. Alright, and now I'm apparently going to summon the Changeling. I'm not sure what I was thinking at this point. I should save the blockers. Nothing I summon. There's one more creature. It's not going to matter if I have to tap 5 creatures to summon it. Yeah, that was a misstep. That was definitely a misstep. I don't know what I was thinking there when I did that. I'm going to copy the Twin Flame Travelers because it's a flyer. Alright, I can give something... Yeah, okay, that gives it... I mean, Vivid gives it a big power boost there, but still, there's going to block. It doesn't trample. Yeah, okay. I think I was just going out there swinging because there is nothing I can do here. I've got 1 creature left, and they have 5 they can attack with. Even if I block the biggest one, I'm going to lose at least half. Nope, nope, never mind. Run away together. Yep. Well, they're going to run away with the game now because there's nothing I can do. Nothing. Yep. Bye. Okay, that's game 2, everyone. Another crushing defeat for me. This one was really bad. The first game was much better. Alright, game 3. Hopefully we can get a better game going like the first one. I lost that one, but I don't mind losing. I don't mind losing either of those games, but the second one there was crushing. Risen Reef. I can't believe they opened that. And they got all the elementals they needed too. Alright. So, yeah, because this could potentially be the last game, I'm going to give this hand a bit more thought. It's not bad. It's got a creature I can summon, it's got a spell I can cast that'll get me another land, and I can then play the Omni Changelings, so yeah. I'm also waiting for my opponent to choose. They're going first, so they get to pick. This is pretty good. Am I going to keep it, though? I can't remember if I did or not. Because, yeah. The Omni Changelings are nice, but because I only have the Silver Guild Mentor, it really does depend on what my opponent plays. But this would be fine. The Tend the Sprigs is kind of nice because it can give you a Tree Folk token. Yeah, with someone with Reach, you've seen me do that a few times, but it's also just a land search spell, which is nice. My opponent is apparently taking their sweet time deciding if they want to keep this hand or not. Or there could be some connectivity issues. That does happen sometimes in this game. That's one of the issues of playing a game over the internet. Sometimes if both players' internet isn't the best, sometimes we have some connection issues. But we'll see what happens here. Also, I just want to point out just how reliable the Silver Guild Mentor is. It's shown up in my opening hand all 3 games so far. It's actually quite useful. I like having it in the mid-game. It's probably a sign I should put it in my deck. I haven't yet because I don't need... Like I said, I'm not playing Merfolk Typal. I don't like Typal decks because I like Merfolk and I like Wizards, so I like both the creature types. But I need a lot... Okay, finally we're getting the actual game. I was just talking there. I was saying, like, let's just talk about the Silver Guild Mentor and how great it's been proving so far. I wish it was... Oh, it's one of those level-up creatures. This could be bad already. No, it's going to take a while to get that. This town ain't big enough for the both of us. They have some of the specialty emotes like I do. As you can see, I have some stuff here like I've got from various things, like my Simic Guild medallion sleeves and my little rainbow koi fish there, which is from stuff I was able to purchase with my gems, which is the... There's monetary transactions in this game, but I don't spend an awful lot of money on it, so it can be all done through the game itself, so it's not so bad. Speaking of reliable spells, there's Rhyme Chill again. One of the cards I took at the very beginning that likes coming up. Alright, so... Well, it's nice to see that I get to play with some of this stuff, especially because I wanted to try some of it out. The Omni Changeling is another card I really like. I like clones. Oh dear. Don't tell me this is an elf deck. Please tell me this is not an elf deck. If this is an elf deck, this is going to be brutal if they manage to get... This could be just as bad as the last game if this turns out to be an actual elf deck. Please tell me they don't have enough for that. Well, if they do, then I'm going to be copying their high perfect there with my Omni Changeling. Yeah, there we go. So each opponent has to... So Blight 1 means I have to put a -1/-1 counter on something. There are two types of counters that are quite common. +1/+1 counters, which make your creatures stronger, and -1/-1 counters that make them weaker. And obviously, if their toughness reaches 0, they die. So that's one of the things here. So I now have that. I actually might be able to use their own strategy against them because I have the Omni Changeling, I have a couple of other Changelings, and I have some Elves. Oh, there you go. They killed, they killed that creature quite quickly there. Let's take out that leveling up creature before it gets too powerful. There we go. That cost me my... there we go. Well, in that case, yeah, let's copy that again and take advantage of the Changeling mechanic here a little bit. There we go. Now I have some typal synergies going. Well, the shoe is on the other foot now. Oh, that thing again. I worked so hard on getting rid of that creature, and then they just bring it back. Great. Oh, well, guess what? Now you have to worry about using your own strategy against them. It's not an elf deck. They don't have enough elves for that. That's good. I'm not having to face two typal synergy decks in a row. Oh, yeah, they really don't care about that. Well, in that case, I'm going to take as much advantage of this as I can. Yeah. Alright, so... Yep, there we go. They really don't care about the high perfect. I don't even know how to land. Alright, well... And this is why I love clones. You get to use your opponent's own creatures and own strategies against them from time to time. It's one of Blue's main advantages that it can basically do whatever it wants if it has the right cards and the right strategy. Blue can use your opponent's spells and creatures against them, and their own strategies against them. It lets Blue have a little bit of everyone's tools in their toolbox. That's why Blue was basically the dominant color for the longest time before it had to be weakened. But I'm glad that mimicking and cloning spells are still sticking around because they're some of my favorites. I prefer them to stealing effects and those sorts of things because it lets you try different stuff out without really adjusting your color balance. You can stick using Blue if you want, and that's why the Omni Changeling is probably going to be one of those cards I really, really like. Alright, if you're going to make that creature stronger, then I am going to freeze it with Rhyme Chill, I suspect. Yeah, it's probably a good time. They have 2 big creatures. Let's keep them from attacking. Rhyme Chill's coming in very handy. With the Omni Changeling, this is very easy to get Vivid to work. Alright, so there's not much they can do unless they have Blossoming Defense, which they didn't have. That's good. So that's 2 big creatures that cannot attack me at this point. But I'm in a defensible position. Unfortunately, I am on the defensive. I tend to spend a lot of time on the defensive, to be fair. Alright. Yeah, let's take out some of their creatures. They could easily have some sort of spell to boost up. I want to keep on the High Perfect for the moment, so there you go. And we get to surveil a bit more because that triggers when they enter or die. Do I really need a looter at this point? I don't. No, apparently I'm keeping it. Looking back, I probably should have got rid of that. Oh well. So here we see another mechanic that shows up quite often, turning non-creature permanents into creatures. It helps you, if you have that, usually they're lands, artifacts, or enchantments sometimes. Sometimes they're even planeswalkers, which we haven't seen any of this this time. There we go, Rhyme Chill number 2. I'm glad I got 2 of those. That's quite handy. So I'll tap those down. But that's a nice mechanic. It lets you obviously, keep your creature base relatively high, even if you haven't gotten a lot of creatures. In draft, that's very, very, very good, as you can see there, because now they have a 4/4 there. Alright, what am I going to do? Apparently, I'm going to... Yeah, I don't know why I'm not attacking with the High Perfect at this point. I don't think I have any more Changelings or Elves. There you go, yeah. Blossom Bind to keep that from untapping. I have a very strong lockdown strategy here with stun counters and enchantments that... keep your opponent's creatures from attacking. It's going quite well. Unfortunately, I'm still very much on the defensive, and they have a big 4/4 they can attack with. Oh no! What's that do? That looks like it's That looks like it's an artifact that copies things, I think. All right. How am I gonna get myself out of this one? This game is going really well, but I don't know. Okay. Yeah, double block there to get rid of that thing the second time. Alright, there we go. Aquatex Defense, which will boost up my Scoundrel, so it'll survive and kill that Archer. There we go. Alright, that exchange worked out pretty well for me. But I need something else. I need something more than this little Ranger card. There you go. See, they started to taunt me there, so now I'm going to use one of my special modes, which is one of my favorites. It says, there's a hole in your plan. One of the best things to have for blue there is to have something that can taunt them there. There we go. Unfortunately, I don't see... I think this is going relatively well. I can't remember if I won on this one or not. Based on the amount of time left in the video, I don't think we got another game, though. Yeah, this isn't going quite well at this point. Oh, there, the Rhymefire Torque are showing up yet again. This is one of the main issues with all of these typo-themed cards like that. If they show up in the wrong order, it doesn't really matter, yeah. See? I don't think I can withstand this. I have 6 life, they have 9, they have 3 creatures. Yeah, that's going to become a creature now. Yeah. The cavalry, yeah. This is the end. That's a changeling, so it can become, they can buff it up, yeah. I just can't block. Oh well, that's the third and final loss for me. That's the end of the draft for me at this point. Oh well, I had some fun with that. And yeah, that's going to be it for today, because that's the end of the draft. We got a pretty good video out of that, I think. I hope you all enjoyed that. Let me know in the comments what you think of me recording the audio in post. It's something I'm going to try doing in the future. This is the first time doing it, so there's probably some bugs. The audio definitely desynced a little bit here. I thought this was going to help avoid that, and it didn't this time. But fortunately, this is Arena. The background audio, and this is mostly just background music and some sound effects, which don't really matter. There's no dialogue that desyncs or anything like that. Hopefully it wasn't too distracting. Thank you for watching, everyone. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Especially, let me know in the comments what you think of me doing these voiceovers in post, because it's going to be something I'm going to be experimenting with going forward. And thank you all for watching. Goodbye, everyone.